Welcome back, social media friends, strangers, and acquaintances, and family. And today is going to be a self therapy session where I spill my guts. So, um, run away now if you know what's best for you. And I want to talk about something that I've written about the past couple years, but only in a brief way. So you could easily consume it and maybe possibly understand it. But if one thing I've learned from being on social media is that no matter how powerful my writing is, it does not compare with this. You know, even though this is what's creating the writing, if you don't have the person behind the writing to deliver it live with all the subtleties in body language and facial expressions, nonverbal cues, it's real easy to dismiss it, ignore it, put in many negative things, right? And that's the whole reason I started making these videos, is because, well, I suspected that you might listen to me more this way. And, for a zillion reasons, none of you, well, not none of you, but hardly any of you read for fun. And by read, I mean a book, not on social media, because you do read every day. You read ding 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 ding, and then your brain gets trained to just read short things, and that's why a book doesn't interest you at all. And now you'd listen to a book. I don't want this is that's a whole nother video. Audiobooks is a separate video coming soon, where I lay out my disdain for them. They have pros, of course, but way more cons, and just like the internet, they're being misused. Another video, okay? This is why people edit, but I refuse to edit because it just seems so fake. And that's what I'm most against in this life. Fakery, deception. Okay. So, before we got sidetracked, I'm here to spill my guts about how Christmas Eve used to be my favorite day of the year, by far. And it had nothing to do with presents. It had to do with that was the one day of the year where my family, the Smith family, because that's my family still, even though, I'm estranged. Uh, everyone got together. And before the internet, before we all got fractured somehow, and by the way, the fracturing and the dividing up of the family started way before uh, I got kind of divvied up or divvied off because I was watching it happen. People were reaching out to me, talking about it happening. And, I guess you could trace it back to when my grandmother passed away. Maybe it started then. I don't know. I haven't really thought about the origins of it because it doesn't. I had nothing to do with the origins, but I'm definitely collateral damage for sure. You anyway, I loved Christmas Eve because all my cousins, all my aunts, all my uncles who might not show up to a birthday party or a graduation or what have you during the other months, right? You might not get 100% participation to a summer picnic or whatever. You would see a lot of your family, maybe half of them, three quarters, 90%, who knows, right? I wasn't keeping stats. But I always knew Christmas Eve, you're seeing everybody, right? People who I would hardly see at all. I know I'm seeing them there. And, you know, some of my most fond memories of the holidays are Christmas Eve when I was a kid. And then even growing up and looking forward to, my uncle used to get me a book every year. That was like not random, but related to things that I was interested in, right? And I would see like my cousin and we would sneak out back and smoke pot. That was a ritual, on Christmas Eve. And maybe my uncle too sometimes. And, when you're going through all the splintering, there's confusion and you're angry and maybe you've said some things that you regret, which I know I do, right? But I admit that. I can stand here, and say, I definitely said things that I regret, but haven't we all? If my mother passing away taught me that, like, cutting people off and just refusing to talk to them in any way does more damage than good. And that used to be my policy, okay? But to quote Mark Twain, anger is a corrosive that does more damage to the vessel it is stored in than to anything you can pour it on. Right? So you can only hold on to the anger for so long before you realize that it's hurting you. Hopefully you realize that. Maybe you don't, but please hope. I hope you do. So, like I said, when you're going through it, you're not away from it, so you can't kind of view it in a big picture way and see, maybe delve into the psychological reasons why we behave the way we do, because we're social beings. And to say that psychology doesn't have anything to do with, why half my family don't talk to each other, or why it's all weird now as compared to, like I said, when it was like a celebration and there was no pretenses, people weren't talking and arguing over politics as if it fucking mattered. To quote Frank Zappa, politics is the entertainment branch of the military-industrial complex. Doesn't matter what side they're on, they can still drop bombs. Anyway, let's just fill this video with quotes, right? So now that I have had the opportunity to look at why a lot of my cousins don't like me, my siblings, I got siblings that don't like me. And here's where I'm going to go into the psychology, so feel free to tap out. Because these are only theories. But what else do I got? These people won't tell me what the deal is. Because I'll tell them why I, say if my uncle said something dumb on Facebook, I would just block him. And I think that's the reason why he doesn't talk to me now. We made up. There was a reason before that, which is unimportant. And I did some groveling, we made up, and then we were fine. And then he said something real dumb on Facebook, and I just fucking blocked him. And he, that's why I wrote recently how internet and real life are not the same. Although I got people that, just because I don't like you on the internet, they think, oh, I don't like them in real life. That's not true. Because guess what? I know that in real life you don't act like you do on the internet. Okay? This is brand new technology. Humans don't know how to use cars. We don't, if you live in Connecticut, you know people do not know how to drive cars. A very simple machine. And you expect me to think they know how to understand the internet and the concept and psychological ramifications behind bling, 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 scrolling. Right? So tap out, okay? If you never walked past the fucking psych class, let alone took a class. Because I'm not going past 101. And this is my attitude here, but, turns a lot of people off. Other people. So for me, like I said, the splintering for me, not like my uncle Kevin who, got into this crazy financial swindle with my grandparents and they said okay, they decided mutually they're never talking to each other. So then my dad's like, yeah, your uncle might as well be dead because my uncle, refused to talk to me ever again, acknowledge my existence because he had a monetary disagreement with his parents. Think about that. This is my family. This is where I come from. These are small people. Kids having kids. You know what I mean? Prefrontal cortex doesn't fucking fully form till you're 25. We got people having kids, multiple kids, way before that. Fucking kids having kids. This is why I was so lucky to have my mother. But I want to go into another. Every video turns into me tribute my mother. You know? Someone's got to do it. So looking back at the big picture, for me, splintering for me began. I can see two spots in my life where clear people in that family look at me differently for various psychological reasons, which got nothing to do with me. Because I ain't no different. I just look. Dude, okay. And this is a part of my life I don't even like talking about, but I must talk about it. When I signed a modeling contract, many of my friends and family have never treated me the same since. And I could give a million examples, okay? But I'll give the one where, my friends would ask me to come to the bar and hang out. And I would get there. And he'd be like, hey, this is my friend Don. He's a model. Blah, 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 blah. And he does this. And I'm like, because then I'm fielding 1,000 questions. And whoever you've told that information to has crazy preconceived notions about models, most of which I wasn't even aware of until recently. Some of them, but not a lot of them I didn't know about. I was like a deer, a baby fawn. I know nothing. But anyway, many people in my family, my uncle, my favorite uncle, who I won't name, but if anyone's in my family watching this, you know who my favorite uncle was. And I miss him. And I sent him a friend request and nope. I sent a bunch of people in my family friend requests as like a test. I don't know what you want to call it. I was like, let's see who's gonna, accept me. Isn't that funny? Accept me. It's kind of true. A few did, but 75%, if not more, no. And it hurts. I'm not going to deny that. It hurts. It hurts. How could it not hurt? Like I said, I have fond memories of all of these people. So anyway, to give you another example of how my family treated me different once I got officially fucking labeled whatever. At Christmas Eve, like I said, my favorite day, one of my cousins, who was a woman in her late 20s, if not in her 30s, I can't remember how old I was. She was probably in her 20s too. We were both in our 20s. She was older. She had a reputation of, and I don't, getting a little at the Christmas party, right? She wasn't the only one, but she, tie one on, right? And she comes up to me. Now, this is after the second moment. I kind of jumped ahead. Maybe I won't say this right now. Let's stop, because I'm going to jump, that's jumping ahead. Because that's the second moment where people in my family, the one that I grew up in and like loved so much, they stopped looking at me as one of them. Even more than like, you think, oh, could you get more ostracized being a model? Right? Like, less than 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of people on this planet. Right? It's a fucking blessing and a curse. Because a lot of my life, I just wished I was regular and I didn't get the attention, from across the street, whatever, right? But that's all I can, I can express that, but whatever. So anyway, so now you have a lot of, for psychological reasons that, we could get into, like, I have a bunch of male cousins who, maybe their parents told them they were handsome growing up, and they always thought they were handsome. And then, like, it became official that they weren't. I don't know. Like, I don't know. But all I can say is that it felt different. And they behaved different around me. Based on what? What society tells them? The fuck? Like, seriously, I never changed. And if you ask, anybody in that industry that I interacted with, they would tell you that I was not what they were used to working with, which is one of the reasons I got work. Because I wasn't a fucking asshole. I wasn't a prick. I wasn't stuck up. I didn't think my shit didn't stink. I never even knew I was quote unquote handsome. If someone had told me, my school did a good job. The bullies made fun of me. I never thought I was anything. Imagine how much of a prick I would be if you'd told me when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Don, you're like Tom Cruise, Don. I would have been an asshole. Anyway. So that's the first moment, was when I got declared, and that was, by the way, luck. I never wanted to be in the fashion industry. That was complete serendipity. Like, I wasn't going to the concert that I got stopped at. My friend called me up the day of or the day before and said, hey, I got these tickets. I can't use them. I left them in the mailbox for you. It's like pre-internet. I think their internet was 97, so that was after 97, but still, like, no one really used it that much. Whereas now someone would just digitally send you a ticket. And I want to say, so that's an important, right? When I got that label slapped on me and guaranteed, and like I said, it's going to follow me forever. If I had known that, I might not have taken the opportunity, despite how attractive and whatever you want to, lucrative, experience-based, you want to call it, right? If I had known, I might not have taken it. Who knows? Hindsight and all. But the second moment, and the one that's even more drastic than that, was when a few years later, the Smith family found out, my blood and their blood did not mix. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's when the one of my cousins came up to me and was like, "Hey, Don, now that we're not related, we can totally hook up." I'll never forget it. It's burned into my memory. That's trauma. When someone you've been first cousins with your entire life, 27 years, because that's when I found out, when I was 27. And that's when they all found out. And have them. Can you imagine if it was the other way around? I was a dude, and the woman wasn't, she found out that she has a different mom, so her blood isn't what you thought it was, but she's been your cousin your whole life, and I went up. Oh, I wouldn't have went over well, but I kind of had to keep it to myself, because it's like, who do I tell that to? That's just one example. I have another cousin that I was in like a text conversation with where we were disagreeing. Now we're relying on our reading comprehension skills now. Might not be on a level playing field there if we're talking through text, But anyway, during part of the agreement, he's like, "I don't even have to care about you. You're not in my family anymore." Like, said it. So, and then, like I said, now when I'm looking back from a big view, it makes me wonder how many other people were thinking it, but didn't have the stupidity to say it. Yeah. And of course, what did I do? I was a dick. I remember. I think I screenshotted it and sent it to his mother, who was my mother's sister. My mother who raised me, obviously not my biological mother, but anyway. And she pat him on the bum and made him say sorry. Grown man, say sorry to your cousin. You fucking idiot. Right? Because we were having some disagreement about something that wasn't even that important, right? But that's where we are now as a society. It seems like we're not allowed to disagree and still be friends. We can only be friends with people that agree with us. And I disagree with most people's fucking views on shit. Sorry. I read a lot of Mark Twain. You scroll TikTok. We're going to think different. But it doesn't mean we can't be friends. Like, you can make fun of me. I can make fun of you. We both go home. Okay. It's all right. But anyway. I have an uncle that never once looked me in the eye. It's like, I'm pretty sure after that, never looked me in the eye. Because he's like, I don't have to. Like, "Hi, Don." He would put his hand out. I'll get to Christmas Eve. He'd be like, "Hey, Don." You have to try to do that consistently. To where, like, I just don't pretend now. I don't go. And I avoid you at all costs. Because I don't want to be fake. It's so, ugh. It's weird. So it's like, it's almost like this is my manifesto. Like, I just need to get it all out. Let me tell you why my sister stopped talking to me. I won't even tell you about all the people in Vermont who don't talk to me. Well, some of them, Because dare I question my pregnant sister smoking a cigarette? And I may have said the word child abuse. Out loud. This doesn't happen through text. This happened in person. You're fucking pregnant to the teeth and smoking a cigarette in front of me and expect me not to say something. You're my fucking sister. Even if you were a stranger, I might say something. But anyway, you're my sister. I'll fucking say something. What the fuck are you doing? But I won't even go up there. Let's stay down here, right? This part of the family, I got a sister who stopped talking to me a few years ago through text. I still have, I can't have you in my life anymore, she said. And this was in a group text with my brother. So I know he remembers it too. Because I think it was like early December, and I text my brother and my sister both. Hey, please don't buy me anything this Christmas. I got so much crap. Like, there's nothing you can get me. Please. Alright? Of course, Dave was like, yeah. You know what I mean? And the other one, my sister, of my nuclear family, who I grew up with, who I haven't had a real conversation with. Well, no, I did. No, we made up. See, that's the weird part. We like made up. I took her out for her birthday, for lunch. We talked like this, you know. Whatever, months later, I say to them, hey, I can't, I don't want no presents. And Carrie texts back quick, hey, I already got you something, whatever, And I'm like, well, you can return it, or you can donate it, give it to somebody else. I was like, I don't want it. I'm real minimalist when it comes to material. So, some of you don't know. I've had multiple apartments that had a bed where I slept and a single chair, and that is it for furniture. Okay? Because I just don't want to sit. If there's a comfortable couch, I'm going to sit on it rather than go out and do things. Right? So I've been aware. I've had apartments that have been lush. I've had the fucking U couch and a foosball table and a chair. I've had grand apartments, right? And I've also had the opposite of that. So what I'm saying is that I don't know. I don't have the values. We all have the same core. I just don't have the materialistic uh, values, except for fishing. I want the best fishing equipment, but to me that's not materialistic as so much as like performance based. You know. So yeah, she says I can't have you in my life anymore because I didn't want any Christmas gifts that year. So, that makes you think like, was she just looking for a reason? An excuse? And a third event that I must say, the last one, which I just, it's real. It's real. I thought there were two. There are three. There are three events where I can feel the splinter of my family, like, in me. And that was when my mother passed away in 2015. So 9 years ago. Because when she was around, everyone knows me and her relationship, right? So like if you are blood with my mother and you loved my mother, you had to love me. We were a package deal, okay? She later told me the reason she never left my dad is because she wasn't my mother and she wouldn't get custody. Yeah, many reasons, but that's one of them that she told me with her own fucking mouth. Because we had plenty of intimate conversations when she was on her deathbed and in hospice. But when my mother passed, my cousins and aunts and uncles who had to at least keep up some sort of appearance of respect for me and our family. Like I had cousins making fun of other cousins so bad that they didn't want to come to the family events based on, again, appearances, based on what they look like and how, like, nothing real, like just straight up bullying. But anyway, I miss Christmas Eve. I miss not having all that tension in the air and why it's even there and what's the point of it. I thought of a fourth thing of why my family thinks I'm just not one of them. I never had kids. I paid for an abortion. So I know I'm fertile. Or whatever. Is that what you say for a man? Probably not. Whatever. But yeah, that also alienates me. I never got married. I didn't do the fucking Disney fairy tale thing. Which I had cousins who literally, oh, I can't believe I just used that word, but literally got married in a fucking princess castle. Like, did the actual fairy tale thing. By the way, I skipped that wedding to go to a Kiss concert. And I still sometimes, when that cousin talks to me, she still fucking brings it up. You chose to not go to Disney World to my event destination wedding so you could go to yeah. Because, like, let's see, egotistical ritual or a good time with a bunch of people who think and want to have a good time like me. What am I going to choose? When my brother told me, let's talk about weddings that I've skipped, because I skip a lot of weddings. Joe Ryan, I skipped your wedding. I skip weddings. Maybe being the best man for my brother's first wedding turned me off. Because we all knew that shit wouldn't last. Anyway, when he told me how much money he spent, I think it was $45,000. I wanted to jump out of the limousine while it was on the highway. I'm like, what are you, a Kardashian? But by the way, I'm in a tux with a speech in my pocket. I can't jump out of the limo. When I get shocked to hear that you put the down payment of a house on one single day, a party for your fucking friends and family. Everybody look at me. And when I skipped my cousin's wedding, okay, I love him, okay, because it was on Nantucket and I had to spend $200 to stay at a bed and breakfast for one night. I was like, hell the fuck no. And by the way, I heard a lot of splintering went on during that fucking excursion between cousins. I can only imagine what would have happened if I actually showed up to that one and had to be in the same house with all the splintering going on. But I digress. I'm not here to the future anyone. I ain't going to your destination wedding. Well, if it's in Ireland on a golf course, if it's self-serving for me. But like, there were no cheap places to stay on that island. Like, railroad me, I'm a single guy living in an apartment, not, working. I'm not getting paid. I didn't got no college degree back then. Like, the fuck, bro? You're obviously, you got money. You're marrying into more. So, suppose, I bet you if I expressed, But anyway, it's not even the money. It was just, the whole thing turns me off. The whole... And by the way, half of them end in the big D. So what are we really doing? Spending so much money. And just sucking the intimacy out of any joining of your souls. But anyway, yeah, I miss Christmas Eve. I really do. I miss the innocence of it. I miss seeing everyone that I thought loved me. Yeah. because they were peers. It's different than, when it's your aunt or your uncle, your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa. They're fucking old. They're old. You really want to bond with the people who grew up around the same time as you. You know, that's when it hits.